Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another deck profile. This time it's going to be a little bit of a different one. This is going to be aimed a lot more towards new players. This is going to be the best Gogeta deck you can build with just 2 starter decks. So 2 new starter decks from set 5 just being released this past weekend. This is going to be the best Gogeta deck you can put together with just 2 starter decks. Perfect for new players who just wanted to dip their feet into the game. You can put something pretty solid together with just 2 of these decks because you do get the arguably the craziest 5-drop in the game in this structure deck. We're going to be doing another one of these for the Shenron Leader coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. Speaking of being a new player, speaking of being new to the channel, if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button, please do hit that like button. We're going to be running an insanely large giveaway once I get back from Nationals with a box of set 5 going to first place. I'm talking mats, play mats, potentially binders, things like that. All different kinds of Dragon Ball prizes going out to people. The more subscribers we get by the time I get back from Nats, the more stuff you guys can potentially win. So with that being said, we'll get into this deck profile. With this being aimed towards new players, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on kind of what the cards do and implications of the cards and what you can do with them in your deck to maybe utilize them to the best of their potential. So we'll go into what the leader does. So on the front side, he's Gogeta, auto burst 2. Burst 2 is an optional effect, so anything that has burst you don't have to activate if you don't want to mill. So like, let's say if you're getting on the verge of deck out, you do not have to activate anything you don't want to that has burst. So burst 2, mill the top 2 cards of your deck, attack, draw 1 card. Now this is a lot better than a lot of older leaders like from set 4 and previously, because most of those leaders that attack have to attack a leader to draw a card. This guy and a lot of the new burst leaders can attack anything and mill and draw, so you don't have to give your opponent cards if you don't need to or don't want to. He'll awaken at 4 life, which means he'll flip over and untap 2 energy, and he'll become the Knockout Strike Gogeta. He has a Sparking 5 ability that says attack, draw 1 card. Kind of weird on this leader, kind of interesting that you have to have the Sparking 5 in order to draw a card. Although a lot of leaders don't have that restriction, even if they do have a Sparking effect, but his Sparking effect is so worth it that you probably would never really play Overwhelm in this type of deck. So Sparking 5 attack, draw 1 card. If you have 3 energy, he gets a 5k power boost on your turn, so it's really good at swinging at your opponent's 20k battle cards, not having to combo into it to kill them. Makes your opponent have to waste more to combo if you're attacking their life. And then if you have 5 or more energy, this card gains double strike when it attacks. So really big pressure you can put on your opponent. The majority of the pressure, and honestly a lot of lethal shots are going to come from your leader in this deck. So really good. It's going to be really well paired with another card that we have in the main board in a second. But finally we get to his activate main. So during your turn, you can discard 1 card from your hand, and your opponent can only play 1 counter for the duration of the turn. So this ruling just came out recently. The way this works is, at any point, if your opponent activated a counter during that turn, during any given turn, you can activate the Gogeta leader's activate main ability after your opponent activated that counter skill, and then they cannot activate a counter for the duration of that turn anyway. Even though they activated a counter before you even activated your leader's effect, the game state still remembers that your opponent activated a counter at all. So if you activate your leader's activate main skill after your opponent already countered, they can no longer counter for the duration of the turn, which is really good. They should be able to see it coming with what your leader says right on the face of the card. But if your opponent just forgets because you didn't activate the ability and they use a counter kind of unwisely, you can kind of punish them for that by then activating the effect, and then your opponent can no longer counter for the duration of the turn. So a really good effect, really good when you're trying to go for game especially. Alright, so here we go with the main deck. 4 Soul Punisher. This card is incredibly good, especially with this leader. It's a lot like Feet Kamehameha. If you don't know about that card, it's a card that came out in the World Tournament set that gives green Goku leaders a 15k power bump and critical. So before we get into the offensive capabilities, this card's really good on defense. Anytime you have kind of an energy up that you didn't use on your offensive turn, this card becomes a 1 energy 15k combo on defense. So it's very typical that you'll end turns up with energy, especially with Dimension Magic. You'll be able to just manipulate your energy on defense, and Soul Punisher becomes a really good defensive capability. Makes you waste the minimal amount of cards necessary to out combo your opponent on a big swing. Really good. On offense, it's insane. You realistically want to save it for when your leader has double strike. That's going to be most of the time when you want to use it. So once you're in that awakened state, you're just attacking with double strike and giving your leader double strike crit. Double strike crit is arguably one of maybe the top 5 best effects in the game. So really good. Next up, Dimension Magic. This is our negate in the deck. This is one of the best negates in the game. It's pretty awesome how it came with the structure deck. So just with this structure deck, you get access to some of the best cards in the game at the moment. So really good that we're playing that at 4. You can activate it to take life when you have 5 or more in your drop area, and when you do activate it, it'll untap 2 blue energies and negate an attack. This is really important. Unfortunately, the structure deck did not come with that many awakening tools. So we're going to play 4-dimension magic because it's so good anyway. But the fact that it can help you awaken is really good. And we'll get to another awakening card in just a moment. Next up, we have the Ki Barrage Sun Goten and Trunks package. So the Ki Barrage Sun Goten is an okay card. What it allows you to do is allows you to attack an opponent's battle card potentially with a 10k power and potentially just pressure it. And then it doesn't leave it on the board, so it comes back to hand. So it makes for good fusion plays, which is really good because we'll get into the quick thinking Gotens once we get there. But the majority of the reason you play it is for the quick thinking Gotenks fusion, which we'll get to a little bit later. But it's an okay card. It can help put on late attacks like later in the game when you only have like 1 or 2 more energy to play with, and if like you're going for a 1 damage lethal shot, this card can potentially do the trick. And then we have the 4 Ki Barrage Trunks. This card is essential in the deck because it's the only real way to self-awaken proactively in this deck. Really important. So you just chap it down for 2 energy, take a life, can get you to that awakening point. Certain matchups are going to slow roll you. I don't know if you guys played in your sneak peek events for set 5, but I picked up the Gogeta deck and played against a lot of Shenrons, and realistically they just drew a whole lot more cards than me, and I couldn't really awaken myself, so I needed a hard mull for as many Ki Barrage Trunks as physically possible. So really good card in the deck, and the ability to bounce back opponents' battle cards can be relevant sometimes, especially when it's going to be kind of a pain for your opponent to recast them. They're not going to be able to really commit to a board. Our 4 super combos, Great Saiyan Man Town Hero. He has the Sparking 5 ability, so he's actually very live as early as like maybe turn 2, turn 3. So really solid. Then we have the Vanillas, the Super Saiyan Son Goku and the Super Saiyan Vegeta. So these are in the deck because, for one, they're big 20k beaters, which is really solid. Just be able to pressure battle cards on board in rest mode, like Anti-Lazas, Kami's Powers, Piccolos, and the like. Just anything that's big and in rest mode, you can pressure it. When you're attacking at even an awakened leader, it's still going to require them to get a super combo to get out of it efficiently. So the fact you're making your opponent use up super combos for only 2 energy is pretty solid, but it's going to make us able to efficiently union fuse into the 5-drop Gogeta, which we'll get to a little bit later. 2 Ready Saiyan Son Goku. This was kind of a flex spot between this and the King Yama. I found this card to be a bit more kind of flexible. It just allows you to play a little bit extra defense in the deck. You know, blue is a very defensive color. So the 4 negates on top of the 2 barrier blockers is really good. This will give you a decent shot going up against a Victory Strike deck as well, because they realistically can't deal with barrier blockers. So that's why we're playing that. Then we have the Fusion Reborn Son Goku and the Fusion Reborn Vegeta. So the fact that you can play 4 of these in this deck with 2 of these structure decks combined together is really good, because in the structure deck tournament and the sneak peek, only being able to play 2 of each was a little bit rough because they're such good cards. So Fusion Reborn Son Goku, when this card is placed in your drop area from your hand as a result of Union Fusion, if your leader is a Gogeta, draw 1 card. And then Fusion Reborn Vegeta, when this card's placed in your drop area from your hand as a result of Union Fusion, if your leader card's a Gogeta, switch one of your energy to active mode. So basically this card just make your fusing into Gogeta more plus. So normally if your hard cast Gogeta, he draws 2 cards and gets rid of 2 cards, so he's a +4. But you can fuse him to drop him earlier and get rid of problems, and you do that by fusing Gokus and Vegetas from your hand with Union Fusion. So these Gokus and Vegetas make it even more valuable. So basically when you fuse this Gogeta for 4, you turn that into a 3-drop with this Vegeta here, which is really good. So you get more energy, potentially just keep up on defense. And the Fusion Reborn Son Goku, when you're fusing for Union Fusion, you're discarding for a effect to fuse. So you're going to get rid of 2 cards, but then Gogeta will draw you 2 cards back. So you basically netted the same hand size, but this Goku will turn that into an additional draw, which is really good. So the fact we can play this in the deck are very good. Then we have the 4 Quick Thinking Gotenks. So this is honestly one of my favorite cards out of the entire set. It's just the fact that it's a 3-drop, crit swinger, and attacks, draws a card is so good and so valuable. And that's another big reason we're playing the Ki Barrage and Goten paired with the awakening tool, the Ki Barrage Trunks, because when you use those to Union Fusion, which again, you just discard 2 of the specified cards from your hand at the same power level, and you can Union Fusion for 2 energy. You can cheat this guy out, and then when you do Union Fusion him out, he'll draw 2. So he'll immediately replace the Son Goten and the Trunks. So if they're kind of just sitting dead in your hand, not really doing anything, you can dig 2 deeper into your deck, swing for a crit, draw another one. Really strong. Then we have the Great Saiyan Man. It's just a vanilla 30k, but the fact that it's 30k is huge. This guy is ginormous. He's going to swing at leaders. He's going to put big pressure on. He's going to swing at battle cards and put big pressure on. And these 30k vanillas, believe it or not, are actually pretty good against Hercule because they just swing for big damage. Going tall, which refers to just going with big monsters, is just going to allow you to get over humps that like Hercule, things like Announcer, where they just need to use up a whole lot of combo power to combo out of it. Really solid card. Then we come to the basically the entire reason you want to play this deck for the most busted card in the deck, arguably the best boss monster to come out of set 5, the Ultimate Fusion Gogeta. So we'll read what it does. So it's a 5-drop, double strike, and he has Union Fusion. So it kind of tells you on here what Union Fusion does if you don't know. You take a Goku and a Vegeta with the same power level in your hand, place them in your drop area, and then you tap the appropriate number of energy to play it. So for Union Fusion, you cheat this guy out for 4, but I mentioned before that the Fusion Reborn Vegeta makes it a 3-drop, and then the Fusion Reborn Son Goku gives you an additional draw on top of his Sparking 5 effect, which says when you play this card, draw 2 cards, then choose up 2 of your opponent's battle cards, place them at the bottom of the deck in any order. So hard casting it for 5, this card's a +4. Union Fusing it, this card's a +2 in terms of getting rid of 2 of your opponent's things. So they -2, meaning you +2, and then fusing with a Son Goku, Fusion Reborn Son Goku, turns him into a +3. So this card just equates to crazy card economy and crazy pressure on your opponent. Next up, I'm going to give you guys some honorable mentions. If budget's not necessarily a problem for you guys, if you guys have access to other cards in your card pool, I'm going to give you guys some honorable mentions as to what can make this deck better using cards outside of just the structure deck alone. So just a few ideas. Number one, I think this is kind of like the most no-brainer to anyone who has been around this game for a while, is going to be Senzu Bean. Senzu Bean is just probably the best card in blue. It allows you to just play great defense. It's really, really good against the deck called Storm, because they just put crazy pressure on you. They try and kill you within the first 3 turns. So Senzu Bean is a really, really important card. If you can get your hands on it, definitely recommend it. Another honorable mention would be something to help yourself awaken. Now there's 2 different options you can go with here. You can go with Os Power Tapion, which allows you to play it for 3 energy, take 1 or 2 life, and then you can take one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 5 or less, place it back on top of their deck. So it's like a pseudo spot removal, but it also sets your opponent's draw back an entire turn, which is really cool. Or you can play At All Cost Vegeta, which is a 4-drop, comes down, untaps 1 energy, draws a card, so almost like a 3-drop that replaces itself. And then you can rip 2 life, so you can take 2 life to your hand, help yourself awaken, and if you have 5 or more energy, it'll gain triple strike for the duration of the turn, destroy an opponent's battle card, and it'll gain 3k power for every energy you control. So at 5 energy, it's 35k triple striker. Really, really helpful going for game. And final honorable mention, since this is a fusion-based deck, you can be playing the new 7-drop Gogeta from set 5, not from the structure deck, but from set 5. That card is really, really good. For 5 energy, you can fusion summon it with a Goku to Vegeta from your hand. It has barrier, meaning your opponent cannot choose it with the skills of cards. It has deflect, meaning counterplays cannot affect it. Counterplays like Cold Bloodless, so you can't have its skills negated, and Crusher Ball, so it cannot come in rest mode due to an opponent's effect. And what it does is when you play it, you can take a life and put it in your drop area, and then you can make your opponent shuffle back their entire hand and draw back to 3 cards. So this card is such a late game bomb that once that gets dropped in your opponent, it's almost going to be guaranteed game, guys. So those are some honorable mentions of cards you can include in this deck, this Gogeta starter deck combination. Definitely check that out. I know we have a lot of Gogeta fan favorites. Definitely check that out if you're interested. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any feedback on the deck or the honorable mentions or anything like that, leave a comment down in the comments below. If you're new to the game, leave a comment. Let me know how you're liking it. Really want to hear how you guys are doing. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is Crosswell TCG, and I'll see you next time.